All right, everyone, welcome to another 90 Day Fiance recap chat. Before the 90 Days is the spinoff. 90 Day Fiance is a reality show that follows real couples, one from another country, one from the US. We watch them navigate irregular relationship issues, and we also see them go through cultural barriers, language boundaries, and the whole legal system in trying to be able to be man and wife, and they have to go through the 90-day visa process. Again, that's why it's called the 90-day fiance. And again, this spinoff is before the 90 days. So here we go, Magda and Joe. The first couple we're going to talk about, kind of new to the season. As they're getting to know each other, they've been, I think, talking for months online. Um, he saw her actually visiting with one of his friends on video chat. She was in the background, and that's kind of how they linked up. But he's saying now that he's in her country in Poland, in person is better. They feel like, they don't feel like two strangers that just met. They have the vibe, they have the connection, and hopefully it grows. And he keeps calling her Magna or Magda. And the producers are asking, are you calling her Magna? And I feel like he has been calling her Magna, but he's acting like he doesn't know what he's calling her. So that was weird. She said she doesn't care what he calls her as long as he's a loving, good guy. He's there with her, and her driving skills are top notch. She's driving around town. She does the parallel park. I'm a little jealous. I am horrible at this, and I'm an old person at this time, and she's she's like 23. Not good. I'm a little jealous, but in a good way. So they get to their room where they're staying. I guess they decided to rent an Airbnb. I don't know what it's called in Poland, but they're gonna share this space together. There's tons of stairs. There's 2 rooms, separate rooms. He doesn't like the idea of separate rooms. There's no air, but they had some fans in there. She's trying to keep things going slow. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go with the flow. I don't like the 2-room ideas, how Joe feels, but hey, I'll go with the flow with this. He bought her some matching sneakers. They're out about town. Skipping, he's like, hey, why don't we skip? It was very cute. He realizes Poland is really nice, a lot nicer than he thought it would be. It has some great sights and all of that, and just a great vibe. Nozdrowi, I think is what it's called, is what you call it in Polish. It's cherry vodka. So they have a little vodka. She says it's too strong. I guess he's kind of used to that strength because he doesn't have a problem swallowing down this vodka. They have pierogies. He loves the pierogies. So he's loving Poland at this point. But he continues to kind of harp on the room thing. Hey, why do we have to be in separate beds? Why do we have to be in separate rooms, that is? And, maybe we can sleep in the same bed. And he thinks it's strange that she wants to be married before they have sex. Because at this point, she starts saying, once you propose, then that's when we can have sex. And he's like, well, I have to know if we're sexually compatible first. I'm not going to propose to someone I've never had sex with. So that's the mentality of most people today. But for some people that have different morals and values, they may have grown up differently. They may have a faith-based lifestyle. It may be religious for some people as far as Christians, and I believe Muslims are similar in the fact that they don't have sex until after marriage. So, maybe he found a woman that is very traditional. She's only 23. I think she's also protecting herself because she did reference some past relationships where she was played, cheated on, lied to. So it may be on some level some type of protective tool because of her past burns. So everybody's not compatible when it comes to that idea that, some people like the idea, this person, usually if they haven't had any sexual experience, they like to have that person, but they also like to sully them and ruin them from anyone else, but they don't want to marry them. So that's a negative thing. And not to say that she's Not to say that she's a virgin, I don't know her status like that, but the fact that she wants to wait and she's very serious about him, that kind of scares him. He's surprised because they're just now meeting and she already has these plans in mind. So the next day, he sneaks in the bed, wakes her up. She told him to wake her up when she gets up, but he kind of sneaks in the bed and wakes her up that way. Um, he kind of, again, they kind of have talked about that issue, and she's like, well, she does want that ring because the ring means I choose you, so she wants to wait. And I can connect with their story because I've done that in one of my relationships where I was engaged, and I did keep telling that person to get the ring because they were a little bit physically charged. Our relationship was a little bit physically charged, too much, to the point where I wanted to wait for marriage, kind of like Magda's doing. And the person was like saying all the good things that they couldn't wait to marry me, opposite of Joe, but there was still this physical thing attached to it. So it's like, well, you don't want to keep putting yourself in a position where you may cross the line. So that's why I was like, let's get the ring so that everything will be matching as far as how I want to live my lifestyle and being married and my faith and all that. So the person got the ring. I do feel like there was some level of pressure. The ring was not that great. I'm not trying to be funny, but even though the ring was not that great, the heart behind it and the person that I cared about, I felt it was a great thing that happened, my first proposal. So I was happy about that, but yeah, to get off my story, but basically, as Magda's saying, the ring means I choose you, but I still wasn't promising to give anything after the ring. We had to go through the whole process, the whole marriage and wedding process, and at that point, that's when everything kind of fell apart for me. But again, he's harping on, we have to be sexually compatible. First she said a couple months we're gonna have sex, and then she's going to the proposal, and she just feels like her trust was broken because he slept with somebody while they were talking, and she was really serious, and he wasn't that serious in that point. Again, it's only been 5 months, so that whole conversation kind of was the weight of their whole session here on this episode. But they went pretzel making. That was fun. Told some bad jokes, some dirty jokes while they were twisting pretzel. It was kind of cool to watch the lady twist the pretzel. Like, you had one side and then you swing it all around. One loop loops around the other one and you swing it. And it was kind of cute. And he kind of messed it up. But she said at the end of the day it was pretty romantic. But she was kind of tired of his dirty dad jokes or whatever he was doing. I don't know if they were dad jokes, but they was dirty. Okay. Then they went to the vodka tasting, and she said, again, confronting him about this other woman and what the timeline was when he did this. This is still her concern. She said, once I started having feelings for you, I wore a ring for you so people wouldn't approach me. I stopped seeing people, and he was kind of surprised, like, I didn't know you did that. And at this point, she's just kind of scared as to what the future is going to hold between them. So the big issues between this couple, Magda really wants to get married. That's going to prove that he really loves her. He's not going to play her. She's afraid that he's not going to be faithful or a good guy, so he has to prove himself with the ring. And Joe was like, maybe I will do that, but first we have to have sex so I can see if we're sexually compatible, and we'll see what happens. And, most of women don't want to hear that. And she's young. She's still possibly in that age range where she's thinking about fairy tales and having the perfect marriage and all of that. While he's in his 30s and he's a player, I don't know if their values match up or their mindset matches up, or the fact that she's trying to protect herself. All of that might be going against them. So we'll see what happens with Magda and Joe. But for me, I think he's a little bit too sexually driven. He kept kind of putting that in her face. and kind of, I feel, a bit pressuring her, wanting to be in the same room, the same bed with her. It became a constant conversation. At least that's the way they edited it. And I feel like he should have made more reference to trying to get to know her, talk to her, connect with her on other levels, versus him just constantly talking about bedroom things, telling dirty jokes. It makes him look like that guy that we don't like so much. Kind of a dirty old guy, even though he's in his 30s, but she's in her 20s. Yeah, so definitely I'm talking about them longer than I desire to, but I can really kind of connect with this story on some level. But yeah, he may be that guy. We'll see. I hope that they can work it out. I hope that they can have a good relationship, but she has some major trust issues. So I don't know. Niles and Matilda, they're having issues when it comes to the knocking ceremony. He goes to Mr. Ark, and he's needed to represent as the parents so they could do the knocking. That's an engagement ceremony within Matilda's cultural background that must be done. Mr. Ark is very cool when he talks to them. He says, okay, I will act as your father and his wife will act as the mother, but he'll have to counsel him, and he has a lot to learn when it comes to marriage and the way they do things in that country. So he's like, hey, I'm going to come back and marry her because I'm not ready to do all the festivities yet. We're just going to do the knocking, and eventually we're going to get married. And I didn't like that word eventually, but that's what he said. And he said, no, Mr. Ark was not playing. He said, after the knocking, you must marry soon after that. You can't just go back. It's all about respecting the traditions and following through. It's kind of like having a long engagement, I guess, in their eyes. It's like, you're getting engaged, but you're kind of just putting that person in a holding pattern until you decide to marry them. And then what if you change your mind? I mean, these are things going on in my head. So you do part of the ceremony, but you don't complete it. Everything has to be completed at that time, which makes a lot of sense. So nobody can back out of this thing. And so he starts referencing the money situation. He's like, hey, no money was needed. You don't need money for this ceremony. Just go ahead and you can do this. And he starts fighting with Matilda, saying, but Matilda was leading me to believe I needed so much money to do this and that for all the different ceremonies. And he said, no, you don't need any money. I'll perform the ceremony for you. But they continue to fight, and the things that he's saying, I think Mr. Ark is telling him to calm down, be gentle with her. Don't, start a big issue. So they leave Mr. Ark, and they continue to fight in the car ride back. And she's basically like, you embarrassed me because you made Mr. Ark think that I didn't tell you the right information and that I was just trying to get you to pay all this money. And he was like, well, why does that have to be 90 people at the festivities? Because Mr. Ark said he really doesn't have to be that big. And she was like, well, you're just paying $200. It's just for the food. And that's all I was asking you for. I didn't ask you for anything this whole time. And now I'm just asking you to do this for the party. It's only $200 something. Why are you making such a big deal about this? You're disgracing me. And Niles does have autism. He really looks like he's gonna lose it. He's kind of gritting his teeth. His eyes are closed, and he was asking her to stop, but she continued to fuss and fight with him, giving us that I believe she's Nigerian, giving us that Nigerian flair, that Nigerian vibe, like, hey, she's not playing with her man at this time, and she doesn't want to be disgraced or called out. Now, with this situation, I'm like, okay. At first glance, I'm like, Matilda wasn't right about acting like you need all this money to do this. But I know she had her own plan of how she wanted to do things. And it's something that they should have discussed. And also, to me, it's like both sides are not communicating properly, because he, of course, didn't communicate that he wasn't going to marry her on this trip. And that would have solved a lot of issues. They could save the knocking for another time. But she's already hyped it up like she's got this man on lock. all the family believes it, the friends. So it is going to make you look bad if you don't communicate with that person right. This is the first time you're meeting them face to face, and they believe that you're going to marry them and all of this. And even though I would probably meet them first and then take some time, she's already built it up to her family and friends to be a certain way. So in that way, I would be quite embarrassed on that. But she's also hyped up the dollar amount. She doesn't know exactly what he's working with. And if she did, I mean, I don't know if she communicated this during when they were on the phone and online chatting with each other, but she needed to tell him there was going to be a certain budget involved with this wedding, and that could have ran him away too. But I think they really should have took things a little bit slower, and he should have been honest, saying, you know, I'm not ready to do this on the first meeting. Should have told her that before he got there. Maybe he thought that that was going to stop her from wanting to be with him, but he should have did what he should have did. And for the money wise part, again, I feel like she should have been upfront with that. So he's already taking a trip that's an expensive trip, and you add a wedding on top of that. Unless he was a very rich person from the US, he's not be able to handle all that. And even if you were, you still want to know in advance the type of money you're going to have to put up for all the different things that has to be done. All the traditional things. I mean, definitely that first trip shouldn't have been for them to get married, but again, for them to get to know each other and for him to learn all this information. So when he can come back, he'll have all his money together and they can have a nice ceremony service, issue free, at least when it comes to the finance part anyway. So it's all kind of a little bit messy, and it does put a certain light on Matilda. She did say, you know, I never said it had to be this way. I'm just saying what I planned and what I wanted, and I'm not trying to use you, but this is the plan that I have. I'm not saying that this is our cultural thing that you have to put up so much money or that much or whatever, but I never told you that is basically what she was saying. Because Mr. Ark is like, you don't need any money. You can straight up just get married like a courthouse wedding and it still be a feasible wedding. You know what I mean by that. You know, do the knocking ceremony, do the marriage, and you don't have to have a lot of money in order to make that happen. So we'll see what happens with that couple, Matilda and Niles. I am rooting for them. They're having a little hiccup here, but I think that they can overcome this because I do kind of feel like they really have love for each other and they're willing to work with each other. All right, Vanya and Bojo. Not looking good for these two. So the last we saw, she walked out of the bar that they were at, chatting with his friends, and he kind of made her look dumb by telling her, well, since you feel this way, because she was getting so upset that he wasn't feeling the feels with her and that he wasn't really giving it a chance and that she thought it was more than that. So he was like, well, why don't you just spend some time alone and enjoy the sights on your own since you feel that way? So he kind of made her look a bit of a fool, and she walked out. His friends were like, do you really want to make this work? Why don't you try? So then he goes after her, but he's like really telling his friends, you know, I really don't feel this, but he just goes after her out of kindness anyway. She's like, leave me alone. He's like, well, I apologize. God bless you. I'm here if you ever want to talk. She's like, yeah, just leave me alone. And she's walking away from the whole situation. And she's like, he doesn't really deserve my attention any longer. And maybe he's just not ready. So as they I guess some time goes past and he offers to take her to lunch and meet up for lunch the next day, and she's like, okay, begrudgingly, as friends. It sounds like a friendly lunch, right? He's not making any promises. So she kind of talks to him at the lunch saying, you know, you told me you love me and all this. Like, you know, I never really said I loved you though. And then she comes out with the receipts, guys. She has a text where he's saying he loves her. And he apologized again. She's like, well, did I scare you away? Was I too much? And he was like, I just felt like I had to meet some type of criteria, and if I didn't, then this wouldn't work or something like that, he was saying. But she was like, you didn't even give it a chance day one. You met me, you just straight friend zoned me. And he was like, well, I'll always be a friend to you. And she's like, I'm not interested in being friends with you. It's like, well, I'll always be there for you. God bless you, blah, blah, blah. That's what Bojo was saying. And I believe that somebody said you should just go home. I don't know, maybe she said I should just go home because what's to this? But hey, I continue to finish my trip and enjoy my trip. So I think that that's what she may continue to do. But at this point in time, looks like her and Bojo are completely called it quits. Bojo was just never feeling the vibe with her. And she was like super upset that he wasn't feeling it. But she does have receipts that he was showing her a lot of love, and there was a reason that she was coming beyond just friendship. Sometimes things just don't work face to face. Sometimes things just don't work the way that you expect, such as life. I don't really blame Bojo. I would probably be upset, especially putting all that money out to go on this trip, thinking that you love someone that doesn't love you back. And he tries to look like the good guy in the end, keeps saying, God bless you, I'll be there for you whenever, and gives her a hug, but she's just really over it at this point. And I understand where she's coming from, but all the best to you, Vanya. To me, you did look a little bit on the edge, and I felt like you did too much to try to win this guy over. But seeing some of the receipts partially, I understand how you were confused by him being one way online and then in person being another. And I kind of want to know what's behind this. So if they have a tell-all, which I'm pretty sure they will, I like to know where Bojo's head was at, like really know where it was at, because I don't fully get it. All right, let's go to Brian and Ingrid. Ingrid meets Brian's friend, who's also named Brian. And so Ingrid makes a joke saying Brian 2 and Brian 1. And the Brian that's the friend says he's a great guy and lists all these positive things about him. Then Brian starts talking about being in the middle of a divorce. And I'm like, Brian, who is in a wheelchair, because I want to make sure you guys know I'm talking about the right Brian here. The one that's with Ingrid, he's in the middle of a divorce. He starts talking about this. And I'm like, what? Why are we just now finding out you're in the middle of divorce? And he's basically saying he believes the young lady wanted a green card, and she's from that same country that they're visiting now. It's been a 2-year divorce, and Ingrid knows about it. And he talks about being married 4 times, and then Ingrid's like, what? She's like shocked, like 4 times? What? I thought 2 times. And she's saying to the producers, what's wrong with this guy? There's got to be something wrong with him. Why is he still alone when he's had 4 marriages that he could have possibly made it work? And we go through, let's see, the first one where he had his daughter with. The second one is the one where the drug issue and she tried to get him killed. The third one was someone he was with after his accident. And the fourth one was the woman that he met in that country and he believes wanted a green card. So this is the list of his marriages. And he's like, well, before I go to marriage number 5, I want to make sure everything's together. And the fact that he can say, hey, before I go to marriage number 5, like the fact that your mind is like, I'm going to have a 5th marriage. Like, when does it end with the marriages, Brian? And she's like, well, what if I didn't know you about this information? She was like, well, you didn't ask me. You would know if you asked. And like, nobody's going to ask you. I mean, you should say, have you been married before? But all they have to do is say yes. They don't have to say how many times. It's too many inconsistencies with Brian. He's in a wheelchair and people may see him a certain way because of that. But Brian has some dark things going on. He had some dark things before, and he's carried the darkness to me on some level after his accident. He does have a dark side to him, to me, just as far as the fact that he is deceitful and deceptive. He's not completely open with her. Then they go back to his age situation. She's like, so you really did say you were 45 online, and but you're really 51, so I'm not crazy. You really did say that. He's like, well, yeah, because I didn't want some 50-year-old lady trying to talk to me. I'm like, well, just don't talk to her if you're 50. Like, whatever. He's being misleading on so many levels. If you don't want an old lady, then don't be old. Sorry. That's just anyway. Not just that, you can just say your preference is younger. I mean, come on, it's a dating app, the sites. You can put all your preferences in there, like big deals. You talk, an old lady sneaks up into your DMs. An old lady like you, Mr. Old Man, sneaks into your DMs. Just tell her you're not interested and be an honest person, please. So he's like, well, I have a 30-something-year-old daughter, so how could I be 45? That doesn't make any type of sense. Do the math. I know you said that you weren't good at math. So he was like trying to make her seem dumb or something because he's a liar. Like, come on, he turns it around on her and just kind of making fun of her in front of his friend Brian. You know how guys have to kind of take the upper hand and look like they are the man in front of their friends. Like, come on, Brian. Seriously? She said, I guess you had 5 wives. You had, 4 wives. I think he said he had 3 fiancés. So I'm kind of confused. How do you have 3 fiancés but 4 wives? Did one just marry you at birth or something? I'm just like confused. Maybe they just had a shotgun wedding and they never went through the fiancé process. Maybe that's it. Still was your fiancé for like 30 seconds. He's like, well, why does all of these things matter? Stop judging me about, she's always been judging me about all these different things. Well, you need to stop lying, Brian. This guy, Brian, he's on my last nerve, man. He's really messing with me. I just can't believe this guy. And because people are disabled, sometimes people try to give a pass to people. No, I mean, I'm sorry, he's disabled, but he also has some other issues with his personality and his character that he needs to work on. We all have things we need to work on, and just because you're disabled doesn't mean that you are a perfect person that has no other issues with yourself. And Brian shows us this right here. I'm not sure why Ingrid gave him another chance, but she needs to run for the hills. I'm sorry. She needs to get back to her country, lock the door twice. He tries to come with gifts to bribe her son again. Don't tell him, act like you're not home. Turn the lights out, please. Put his number on block, please. And tell his friend Brian that if he needs anything, go call his friend Brian. His named twin friend Brian. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for that rant. Let's go to Lauren and Faith. They are at a barbecue spot. Looks like a street food spot. And they're eating chicken intestines. We know them here, I believe, as chitterlings. I think it's chitterlings. No, I think chitterlings is pig intestines. Chicken intestines are what they are eating. It's Lauren and Faith. They are in the Philippines. So Faith is slurping this chicken intestine on a stick, saying, it's like spaghetti. And I'm just freaked out by the sight of this. And Lauren's like, it's not bad. It is intestine, but it's not bad. I think Lauren will eat anything. I'm sorry, and I mean anything. He also will do anything and maybe sleep with anything. I'm not really sure, because everything is coming out of him due to his issue. But I'm sure it's cleared up now. For those that don't know, he did have gonorrhea. And of course, Faith found out he was sleeping with people, still sleeping with people while they were in a relationship, even though they were online. He was still sleeping with people nonetheless, and she was unaware. So lastly, the family is like, hey, give Lauren another chance. He is from an American. A lot of trans women don't get this opportunity to have a regular man show interest in them, especially someone that's foreign. I mean, there's opportunities in America. Just give it a chance. And so Lauren kind of questions her and say, where are we at now? And she gives in, it's like, yes, okay, we can be boyfriend and girlfriend now. And opens the door back up. And I guess part of it was because the family likes him, but also Faith's trans sister is also rooting, saying, you know, you should take this opportunity because you may not get another one. But Faith was like, I shouldn't be treated any type of way, and I agree with Faith. So I'm not sure why they are backtracking on this situation and now welcoming Lauren in. And now that they're together now and they decided to make this choice at the street food restaurant, Lauren's gonna do something else crazy. Okay, I have a plan so we can be together forever now that you want to be with me. My plan is that we have, there's no same-sex marriage here in this country, and I want to live here in your country. So one way is we can go get married in Thailand, because it's okay to get married there, and come back here. And another plan, if that doesn't work, and if that doesn't give me citizenship or whatever I need, then another plan is I can marry someone here like your mom. And first thought, Faith was looking crazy. And Lauren has had Faith looking crazy multiple times in this relationship. And if somebody has made me looking crazy that much, my face will change. I mean, honestly, I will have to be done with that person. I don't know why people keep giving people all these multiple chances. There are times when I have done that. I feel like I haven't done that as much as these people on this show. But, you know, maybe in hindsight, I have given a little bit too many chances. But this guy, he doesn't deserve it. So now he wants to marry your mom. Like, let's ask your mom. She might be okay with it. She seems to like me. How can he so matter of fact just come up with this weird idea? So Faith's like, you know, I need more time to think. This is a wild idea. She tells us that, not him, but she's wondering if he cares more about being a citizen than being with her. And like, that was my first thought too. I think your first thoughts are right, Faith. You have clocked this guy. You know exactly what he's about. Why are you continuing this? So they go back, hang out with the family, doing some karaoke. There's actually a karaoke curfew. People love karaoke there, but they do have a curfew. You can't do it too late at night. They're singing Christmas songs. Not sure if it's the season at that time when it's being taped, but they're singing Christmas songs. Maybe those are universal songs everyone knows. Again, Faith's not sure about marriage. He tells the plan, and he's trying to tell the family the plan, and the family starts to laugh at when he says marrying her mom. And mom's like, no, I don't want to take any part of this. No, I'm not going to even be involved. You know, it was funny because it was like, this guy is joking. The whole family laughs when he talks about, hey, maybe I can marry your mom. And they think it's a joke. So that just shows how strange things are in the head of Lauren. They all leave with a family group hug. Mom is crying like, no, I don't want you to leave my Faith. But mom should really be crying is the fact she's leaving with Lauren, that he needs help. All right, let's go. Let's go finally to Via and Sunny. Close out with them. So, Sunny finally meets Rory, the ex that came to the country to meet him, but Via kept it a secret because she didn't want Sunny to be mad. So finally, after they had like a 3-time nighter together, she feels, okay, I've proven myself enough. Now he can finally meet my ex. They kind of get into it at the pool place, where you're playing pool there, and he storms out again when he's like, no, you can send Rory home, you don't need him anymore, we're together. So she was like, no, I'm not sending him home. So he storms out, She chases him like, Sonny, Sonny, Sonny. Like, why are we chasing men here? Do we chase men? This isn't the thing that we do. I mean, she's giving him reason to storm out, but I'm not gonna chase a guy. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna chase him. Unless I'm totally wrong, and maybe on some level she is, but I'm sorry. I don't see myself chasing a guy unless I need him to take me home. He's my only way to get home. And he's basically, Sonny's like, you let that guy ruin everything. You know, you're still allowing him to stay. Just send him home because I'm all you need and all of this. Like, go tell him to go home. And he can't take this situation. Just, leave me alone if you're not going to tell him to go home. And she's like, you know I love you, Sonny. You know I love you a lot. And she starts crying and is like, okay, Sonny, I choose you. So then they go back to the pool place, and I guess they're going to tell Sonny, but they didn't show it yet. I mean, they're going to tell Rory to go home, but their relationship is just too toxic from the beginning. Like, it's just weird. And just the fact that Rory is even there, and she lied about him being there, and then she has to do makeup sex to prove that she really wants to be with him and get him to do what she wants, but he's still mad and storms out anyway, and she has to keep chasing him. And this is just a toxic little circle. I don't know if they're going to be happy together. She's going to have to change his Muslim lifestyle, but she doesn't know yet. A little bit like Tiger Lily, but she rushed into marriage versus Vaya, so maybe she'll learn some things before they get to that point. But I suggest these two part ways. Their relationship to me is weird and toxic, and I don't think they're just going to continue to go through challenges. I'm sorry. That's what it looks like it's going to be for them. So I think they should really, instead of Rory going home, Rory and Vaya needs to go home, and she needs to say goodbye to Sonny and apologize for wasting his time, and he can just keep running away because she doesn't have to chase him anymore. Okay, those are my final thoughts, guys. Those are my final thoughts on 90 Day. I think I got a little too personal with these stories, but hey, what do you guys think? Thoughts, comments, questions? Email cbiztv@yahoo.com. That's cbiztv@yahoo.com. Guys, I'm just telling you what I would do in these scenarios. What would you do? Let me know. Drop something in the comments. Again, you can email me. And join me again as we talk faith, love, and trends right here on CBiz Media. This is Irene. All the best. God bless.